That's what I forgot to put on my preview. Happy solstice. Happy first day of winter. Bon hiver. Whatever you want to call it. And happy winter spice cranberry Sprite. Okay, not great. But it's okay. It's going to be refreshing enough for the holiday. And here we are. Hard to believe. It is December 21st, 2024. It is 4 days before Christmas, 3 days before Christmas Eve. It is 2 days before Festivus. It is Dylan Knows, episode 585, a Festivus miracle. Not only is Festivus due out on the 23rd, but the Baltimore Ravens are starting to enter their Festivus period, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. It's a big celebration this weekend. My kids and my wife are off for the rest of the year. Will not go back to work and school until the 2nd of January. Now, my wife has a few little odds and ends she's got to do, but that's not really important. She won't be there for full days. I have to go back to work. I'll work Monday, half day on Tuesday, off Wednesday, work Thursday, work Friday, Christmas at my in-laws on Saturday. So when we get back, I should be okay for an episode of Dylan Knows, depending on what time we get back. And if not, it'll be Sunday after Christmas with my mom, who's coming on Sunday the 29th. Because the Ravens are not playing on the 29th. They'll be playing on Christmas Day. We'll be doing Christmas Day at my Uncle Philip's house. We're going to go to my dad's house first and have our Christmas with my sister, brother-in-law, my stepbrother and his wife before we go to my Uncle Philip's house. And then we're going to watch the Ravens game and have food. My mom tomorrow is going to get picked up by my brother-in-law, and she's going to spend Christmas with my sister, which is good. And then we're trying to figure out, and then I got to work on the 30th, and then New Year's Eve will probably leave early-ish on the 31st, and then New Year's Day off, and then back to reality with the beginning of hopefully not the end of the world in 2025, but the way things are going, who knows. But we're trying to figure out New Year's Eve stuff now. So we've got a lot of stuff rolling in here soon, but it is the end of the holiday season. It's hard to believe that we're here at this point. So here we are, first day of winter, Christmas. I got everything I need to right now. Because this is the first day of winter, it is the longest night, so we're still in the dark. But because after, from this point on, daylight starts getting more and more in the evening, so the sun starts staying out longer and longer. Not very long right away, but eventually you'll start noticing it for sure. So because we are officially in winter, I will be switching the lights back on for the light season for winter. I did this for fall because it's dark and mysterious and Halloween and all this stuff, and I thought it worked out pretty good. And I still might occasionally drop the dark background on here, but I think it's kind of neat to do have the lights the way the seasons are working. So lights come back on for next week's episode. I still have a couple more episodes I want to try to get in of my 12 Days of Christmas since the Ravens played today and beat the Steelers 34-17, securing a spot in the playoffs, which is what they call Festivus. That came up because Brian Billick, the former coach of the Ravens, when they were on their Super Bowl run in 2000, once they were getting close to clinching the playoffs, he did not want the Ravens players to start talking about the playoffs. He was going to find people who were, because he wanted them to stay focused on trying to end the season strong and then getting into the playoffs and seeing where they go from there. So in order for them to be able to discuss the playoffs, the players came up with Festivus. And so they gave away, they talked about Festivus that way. So they didn't say the word playoffs, they said Festivus. And then when they got to the Super Bowl, they called it Festivus Maximus. My wife got me a sweatshirt actually that had Festivus on it, which I really, really liked, but I've outgrown it since then. And I have no idea if it's even still in my closet. I think it probably is, but that's what that is. So that's why it's a Festivus miracle, because they did beat the Steelers, which they've been having trouble with over the last few times, but this was a beat down. Most games between us at the most is one score. This is a 3-score victory that the Ravens had, first one in a while, where we absolutely obliterated the Steelers. So it's potentially a good sign of things to come. So we'll see what happens. We got 2 more games. As I said, we got Christmas Day against the Texans on Netflix of all places, and then don't play again until January 6th against the Browns at home, and then it's Festivus time. By then, we should know where we are because the division is in play for us right now because we're now tied with the Steelers. So we have a playoff spot locked up. So even if we lose the next 2 games, we will be in the playoffs. It'll probably be as a wild card then. But I expect us to win because we have the easier schedule. The Texans are struggling right now. They just lost their best wide receiver, which is a shame. He dislocated his kneecap, which is terrible. But they are still the division winners, so they're still going to have a home playoff game. So if we do not win the division, we would probably go to the Texans to play them in the playoffs because we're probably locked up the number 5 seed. So we'll see what happens. Again, we'll see what happens with that. But the Steelers have to play the Chiefs and the Bengals, which are 2 really, really tough teams, and they just played us and the Eagles and have a 2-game losing streak right now. So their last 4 games are a bit of a hike, so we'll see if they are who they say they are. If they lose their next 2 and we win our next 2, we win the division, and there's probably going to be some sort of finagling that if we end up tied, if we both win or we both have a win and a loss, something like that, there's going to be some moving around of parts to see who wins the division and who's going to be probably the number 5 seed, because I think the Broncos and the Chargers are probably going to lock up the 6 and 7 tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. So a lot of good stuff going on right now. It was a absolutely fantastically chill weekend. As I said, beginning of Christmas break for my family. We had nothing we had to do, no scout related activities. My wife went to get groceries for the upcoming Christmas meal she's going to be making. And tomorrow she's going to do a little more shopping. We pretty much done. And she said to me today, like, I'm not nervous about Christmas. We've usually around this time we start panicking a little bit about, do we have enough presents? Have we got the right ones? Why hasn't stuff showed up today? Now we're just sort of chilling because they're 18 and 15. They don't have really much that they wanted. We've gotten a lot of good stuff, and there might be a few little odds and ends here, but nothing too important. So we're in really good shape. We're going to have a dinner with my in-laws on Christmas Eve. We're going to go to Mass and then go to Kekko's, which is a great Italian restaurant. So that'll be fun. Then we'll chill on Christmas Eve. So I'm looking forward to that. Tomorrow, I'm going to try to maybe do an episode or 2 of my Christmas stuff because I wanted to do the best winter films today for the first day of winter, but things got out of hand. I want to play some Fortnite because a lot of cool stuff happening in Fortnite, but I'll talk about that in a little bit too. And we got a lot of cool stuff to talk about right now. And the best one right now is we finally get our first actual look at James Gunn's Superman. We get the first full trailer, and it's exactly what we wanted after that Zack Snyder abortion of a movie and series with Superman. We get a full color Superman. We get good dog Crypto. We got excellent chemistry between Clark and Lois. We've got Clark looking different than Superman so that his identity is safe. We get views of Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Metamorpho, and even a little sneaky picture of the Engineer. We get Nicholas Holtz's fantastic looking Lex Luthor. We get a kid in a foreign country waving a Superman flag to try and have him save them from the armed army that's coming in and invading their territory. We've got Superman getting cans and bottles thrown at him by humans for some reason. We have a bruised and beaten Superman who's bleeding. We've got some views of some different villains and some weird lights in the sky. So we just got just a taste of what's coming, and it has changed my excitement level. I was meh about it. I saw this. I want to see it like tomorrow. So they'll probably release one more trailer, probably closer to the Super Bowl, which will have probably more stuff in it. Maybe actually hear some dialogue. This just had the John Williams Superman theme in electric guitar, which is pretty cool. So really looking forward to that. Check it out for yourself. It is what Superman should be, and hopefully is a good sign of things to come. So yes, absolutely great. All right. Yeah, I talked about that already. Talked about that already. Dakota Johnson and Josh Hartnett have joined Anne Hathaway in Verity, the film adaptation of the novel. So it's an interesting, very good cast there. The Housemaid with Sydney Sweeney, Amanda Seyfried, Brandon Skenlar, and Michelle Momona is now set for a Christmas 2025 debut. So that's pretty good. We're already looking ahead a year now. Congress leaps hurdles to get the Washington Commanders to potentially come back and play in Washington, D.C. in the site of RFK Stadium. RFK was owned by the federal government, the land on it, because it's part of Washington, D.C. They passed a bill in Congress that allows the team to negotiate with the government to determine what to do with that piece of land, which could very well be a brand new stadium, which they've been asking for with this new team, this new ownership team, who are forced into this crappy stadium that they're playing in now. And they're on the verge of getting to the playoffs. They play tomorrow against the Eagles. If they win that game, they're in the playoffs. If not, they still have a chance of couple teams lose some games tomorrow, and then they still have a chance in their final 2 games of the season. So the Commanders are still in a good position to get into the playoffs as well, which would be awesome for my wife and her family. Jane Daniels, the quarterback there, looks like he's almost a lock for Rookie of the Year because he's won the Offensive Rookie of the Week like 9 out of like 16 weeks. So some crazy stuff going on there. So that's good. So good job on Congress on doing that. Real quick MAGA minute since I'm on this aspect as well. President-elect Elon Musk and his toady Vice President Donald Trump tried to ordered the Republicans to strike down a bipartisan budget bill, which would keep the government functioning through March. And they would have, if it would have been successful, would have shut down the government right around Christmas time. So federal employees would not get paid. Military personnel would not get paid. And that was struck down. And so they knew so they did vote on that and said they were going to shut down the government, but then a new bill was put in order, which was put in place. So the government will be operating now through March, which is very good, without any of Trump's and Elon Musk's things that they wanted in there. So they had a loss with that. So that's good. Also, more proof that President-elect Elon Musk, who is controlling the ticket now, and as I said, Trump is just his toady, is not even the president, so he's doing whatever Elon Musk tells him to do, so obviously he's not the president. They tried to cut $190 million in pediatric children's cancer patients. So for you dumb shit motherfuckers who voted for Donald Trump, you don't get Donald Trump as president. You get Elon Musk as president, and they try to kill kids with cancer. So way to fucking go, you pieces of garbage. And you wonder why I'm so mad at you guys. So fuck you guys. F off. It's going to be a long 4 years. Speaking of rough stuff, Blake Lively alleges a hostile work environment and potential sexual harassment on her co-star and director Justin Baldoon on It Ends With Us. She is accusing him of walking on her when she was topless, trying to add more sex scenes to the story that didn't need it, showing pictures of his naked wife to Blake Lively and talking about his porn stuff to her, and she kept saying no. And then after she alleged all this, he went out to get a PR crew to try to throw her through the mud. And if you remember, during the time when they were doing the press for it, everyone was saying how difficult she was to work with, and so on and so forth. So we'll see how that turns out. But hopefully Blake Lively will be believed and taken care of. And Justin Baldoon will never be able to work again. So we'll see what happens. Some interesting animal news. The spade-toothed whale Mesoplodon traversal is the rarest whale species and is discovered to have 9 stomachs. That's insane. 9 stomachs for a whale. And Dulcibella camanchaca is a ghostly predator that was discovered 7,900 meters deep in the ocean. Looks like a demonic, big teeth, ghostly, disgustingly evil creature. Probably one of the sweetest creatures out there, but he looks absolutely horrendous. And they nickname him Darkness. That's what it looks like. Some deaths. The big death that happened today. One of Major League Baseball's greatest players of all time, and I believe he is a Hall of Famer, Rickey Henderson, passed away at the age of 65. His birthday would have been on Christmas Day. He was born on Christmas Day. So he died 4 days before his birthday. And he was the greatest base runner in Major League Baseball history. Has the record for most stolen bases in a career that is never going to be touched. I think a good example was he's had like 1,400 steals, and the closest amount of steals that the next player has is 400. So it ain't never going to get touched. So I remember I loved Rickey Henderson. I loved watching him. I watched him get the record for most stolen bases in Major League Baseball history. I remember him doing it and picking up the base and holding it up. It was second base, I believe, he stole. And I remember watching him, and I really enjoyed him also. I remember mostly as an Oakland Athletic, but I'm sure he did some other teams as well. He's with some other teams, but I remember him mostly as an Oakland Athletic. Also dead this week, Aziza Barnes, a writer of The Night of Seven Kingdoms, which I think is a Game of Thrones spinoff, and Snowfall. She died at the age of 32, which is a shame when somebody dies that young. And singer Afa Anderson, disco legend and frontwoman of Chic. She also did the song Good Times and La Freak, which are two wonderful, awesome songs. Good Times is a really, really good one and is on my playlist. Let me just double check this. I can't really play because I'll get a copyright nailed with it. Yep, Chic, there it is. Good Times. Dun, 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 dun. And La Freak. Yep, so I can't really play it, but definitely look up Good Times and La Freak, and you'll hear her disco legendess. Afa Anderson passed away this week. Actually, today, I think, 28 years later, which is set to debut on my birthday, June 20th, 2025, which is a Friday this year, is just the first of a new trilogy. The second movie of it has a working title of, and I think it's actually the real title, is 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. It's going to be directed by Nia DaCosta, and it's set to debut January 16th, 2026, almost 6 months after, well, it's June 20th, so it's just almost 7 months after, but it's still in the 6-month range after the first 28 Years Later comes out. So they're hoping that it's going to be a big deal. I think it is. It's been getting a lot of press. It's got Danny Boyle back directing it from a Alex Garland script. And the guy who played Oppenheimer, who was in 28 Days Later, is said to appear in it as well, but he's not the main star. Ray Fiennes and a few others are as well. It might be an intriguing one. I'm really getting excited about a bunch of movies that have been showing up and that I've really started to look at this week. I don't know. I haven't watched any of the 28 Days Later movies, so I don't know if I'd really be interested in this, but this does seem kind of an intriguing thing. So there we go. Some more good news, proving stupid people wrong. A flat earther was able to raise money to send a group of people who are all flat earthers to go to Antarctica and try to prove that there is no 24-hour sun in Antarctica because the earth is flat. There would be no way for a 24-hour sun to happen if the earth was flat. They believe it's a myth, a legend, whatever. So they raise the money to go down there. It is actually today was the first day of summer in Antarctica. And they've been, even though this is technically the first day of summer, the 24-hour sun in Antarctica has been down there over the last month or so. So the crew gets down there, and they've got cameras and magnographs and all this stuff, and they're measuring things, and they're watching it for 24 hours. And lo and behold, the sun never fucking sets. Oh my God. How can that fucking be? Because the earth is round, you dumb fucks. And so, to his credit, the guy who was this big flat earther, after being proved wrong, went on videotape and said, you know what? I thought I really believed in this. I thought it was a true belief system, and this has proven me wrong, and I will be the first to admit that I was wrong. So, hooray, we got one less group of flat earthers now, but now the true flat earthers are all like, we can tell it was a faked event because the shadows don't match up with the people and blah, blah, blah. They're coming up with all kinds of bullshit things. So you're never, ever going to fully have people not believe that the earth is flat, which is a real depressing thought. Ugh. So we get the Superman trailer, and it's getting a fantastic. Everyone loves it except for the Snyder bros. They're all saying this is bullshit. This is crappy. You know, Snyder set the table for all this. That's a bunch of fucking horseshit. So fuck off, morons. But because everyone's excited about it, James Gunn piggybacked on it and said, guess what? Supergirl starts filming in January. So we're going to get Supergirl on time and on target. Rumor has it she's going to possibly make an appearance in Superman, not necessarily in an end credit sequence like Marvel does to set up their things. She might just show up in the regular movie itself for a sequence or two. But we don't know for sure. But we do know for sure that the Supergirl movie will be start filming in January. Now, it's based on the Tom King miniseries, and I asked for the hardcover collection of it for Christmas. If I don't get it, I will be buying it, and I'll be reading it next year, so I'll be ready for the movie. I already know Superman lore, so I'm good with it. And you know, each story is not going to be an adaptation of a story, but this one is for Supergirl, so I want to kind of read it and see what it's going to do. So, and what really got people into the Superman thing is they love Crypto. They think it's fantastic, and he's cute. He does have a great sequence in it. But it's also just great looking in general. Everything about it's great, and I can't wait to see Supergirl now because with Lily Alcock or whatever, it looks exactly like how she should. So we're good in shape. Sonic 3 just came out and has been doing pretty good, the box office. And because they know it was going to happen, because they know it's popular, Sonic 4 has been set up for 2027. So we will be continuing the Sonic storylines. Excuse me. Taylor Sheridan continues to be one of the hottest producers in television and streaming. His newest show, Landman, with Billy Bob Thornton and Demi Moore, has set a record for most views for a week on Paramount Plus, with 14.9 million views of Landman, even more than Yellowstone. So that's insane that that's happening. Courtney Cox has officially signed on to Scream 7 and is the only OG to appear in every single Scream movie. There are a bunch of other Scream casting, but it's been spread out over a whole bunch of areas, so I don't see any more on this page. But I will bring up, there was a ton of casting on Scream 7 because they start filming in January as well. I believe they're going to be coming out in December when the other Scream movies have usually been coming out, I think, of 2025. Don't quote me on that. They might be pushing again for January like the other ones have been, so we'll see what happens. Rosemary DeWitt, Alex Ponovic, Beatrice Kitsis, and Kevin Chakena have joined Percy Jackson Season 2, which is presently filming right now. Lin-Manuel Miranda has gone on record saying that he filmed his scenes recently, so he will be returning as Hermes. He plays a kind of a bigger role in the second one they did in the first one, so that's going to be good to see that. But what's interesting is Beatrice Kitsis's character. The other ones, DeWitt, Ponovic, and Chakchun, have book characters that they're portraying, but Beatrice Kitsis's is a brand new original character that has not appeared in any of the Percy Jackson books. And since Rick Riordan is the showrunner, he is okay with the introduction of new characters. He has said as such when he was starting this journey that it's not going to be direct adaptations. They're going to add some characters and add some more stories that they need to blend it out a little bit, particularly as the books are not that long. They're starting to get longer when you get to the later ones, but number 2 and number 3 really aren't that long. You get to number 4, number 5, that's when they get really, really long. You're not going to need to do it as much. But they are, and this will be proof that they are adding new material, new stuff to it. So that's pretty cool to see that. So it's a good sign also that is currently filming right now. Dune Messiah, the third in the Dune saga, is set to start filming in September 2025. And that comes on the heels of the Dune TV show that is presently on Max, which is a prequel to the Dune movies, has been renewed for a second season as well. Jared Leto has been cast as Skeletor in the live-action Masters of the Universe movie as expected. The Running Man remake has moved from November 21st, 2025 to November 7th, 2025, because they do not want to compete with Wicked Part 2. But it is not known as Wicked Part 2 anymore. It was announced this week that Wicked Part 2 will now be known as Wicked for Good, and is set to come out on November 21st, 2025. Wicked, the movie that's out now, is set to be crossing the $1 billion mark very shortly, within the next week or so. And particularly, it'll probably jump over the holidays because they're going to be releasing the sing-along version in the movie theaters. So that'll probably increase your money there. So that should be hitting $1 billion really soon, too. This was a really interesting thing that just sort of came out of nowhere. The Evil Dead Rise director, which he got a really good reviews and stuff like that, and is considered a really good horror director, has announced his next project. His next project is a new version of The Mummy that he claims is going to be very ancient and very frightening, and it's got me very excited about it. It should be interesting to see what they plan on doing, particularly if you maybe set the Mummy story during the Mummy times instead of modern day, or in the case of the Brendan Fraser ones in the World War I and stuff like that, but not in modern times, but like during the times when the Egyptian pharaohs existed and all that stuff. That could be really interesting to see. So to be continued sounds intriguing. Stranger Things Season 5 has wrapped production, so the actors are now free. Hooray! No more Stranger Things for the actors. So they are all done. And we're going to be in for quite a treat since they all claim it's going to be basically like 8 2-hour movies to conclude the saga. And that being the case, I don't think we're going to be seeing Stranger Things 5 until the fourth quarter of 2025, probably around Halloween, maybe November, maybe even December. I think it's going to be closer to Halloween to go back and sort of go back to where it all started. Could be intriguing. The brand new Black Doves TV show with Keira Knightley got picked up for a second season, so congratulations to them. Lego and One Piece have announced a collaboration, so we'll be getting Lego One Piece stuff very soon. New stuff coming out next year. Well, one's new and one's a return, which I'm really excited about. Blueberry Bran Crunch, from the makers of Raisin Bran Crunch, are releasing Blueberry Bran Crunch. I'm not sure how I feel about this. Blueberry has a very distinct flavor, and I'm not sure if it works for cereal. Blueberry is pretty good, but that's more of an artificial flavoring of blueberry. When it comes to Raisin Bran stuff, they tend to like to use the real stuff. So real blueberry with the Raisin Bran Crunch stuff could be interesting, but I don't think I'd like it. But I'm extraordinarily happy and excited and stoked that Lay's cheesy garlic bread potato chips are coming back next year. One of the best flavors of all time came out 4 or 5 years ago, and I devoured them. They were so fucking good, and I cannot wait for them to come back, and I will be eating the shit out of them. Marika Morone has been cast in Neon's new film Brides. It's a horror film. It's set to be released in movie theaters probably late next year, probably in October. Nothing revealed about it, but still, it's kind of an interesting little tidbit I let you know about. The Brutalist trailer. The Brutalist is going to be one of those movies that is going to get a lot of Oscar buzz. It's already got a lot of award nominations, so we'll see what happens. To me, I can see where the Oscar stuff could be, but it just seems like kind of a boring sort of film to me, so I'm really no desire to see it. Severance Season 2 trailer debuted. The full trailer debuted. Again, never saw the first season. Really don't know much about it. Could care less about it, so there you go. Talking about the DCU and how it's starting to come back. Creature Commandos is still doing very well in the ratings with their TV series, and their most recent episode has been one of the more critically acclaimed ones. So James Gunn appears to know what he's doing. Sorry, Snyder Bros. You can go fuck right off now, you pieces of shit. And then with Supergirl coming out in, starting in filming in January, probably be out in summer of 2026. That should be an interesting, intriguing sort of thing to do. But they're also going to do their first ever animated feature, which I think is a neat idea to mix animated features with live action ones. I announced this before. It's called Dynamic Duo, and it's going to follow 2 Robins. I think it's going to be, there to be flashbacks to when they were Robin to the present day where they're Nightwing and Red Hood. So it's Jason and Dick, and have them team up together. That could be a really cool film. Unfortunately, it is not set to debut until June 30th, 2028. So we got a ways to go. Who knows if this country is still going to be around at that time. But it should be a lot of fun if it can actually come out there. Rumor time. It's always great to see these rumors, and a lot of them turn out to be just wishful fan thinking that they want, but some actually maybe tend to end up being right. A lot of people were thinking that Robert Downey Jr. was going to come back and Chris Evans was going to come back in some form or another, but everybody thought, you're crazy, and then, well, we're stupid. That's not the case anymore. So take these with a grain of salt, but if what we've been hearing from the Russo brothers is true, Doomsday and Secret War, potentially Secret War Part 1 and Part 2, which is a potential could happen, is going to set the table for the X-Men's arrival in the MCU. And it's also potential that the X-Men will be appearing in some form or another in Secret War 1 and 2. Probably not Doomsday, though we might see a couple mutants in there as well. Rumor has it as well, including this first rumor where Ana de Armas is rumored to be up for a role in the MCU, but let's face facts. Sydney Sweeney has been rumored to be up in a role in the MCU, and that's probably not going to happen now because her career is just getting overwhelmed and very busy with things right now. And we'll take, as I said, take this with a grain of salt, but it is rumored that she's going to make an appearance in Doomsday. And some people are postulating that she could be playing Mystique. And that would be really an interesting casting and really interesting first mutant to be introduced to the MCU. It could be intriguing if it actually turns out to be true. Or Ana de Armas may be playing a completely different character in the MCU. So again, rumors, take it with a grain of salt. We don't know if it's true or not. There have been, as I said, the Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans rumors turned out to be true, but there have been a ton of other ones, like the whole thing about Nicolas Cage coming back as Ghost Rider is a bunch of BS. Because Ryan Reynolds approached him to be in Deadpool and Wolverine, and he said he didn't want to do it. So I highly doubt he's going to want to come back for Avengers. So take it as a grain of salt. Ana de Armas is said to be up for a role in the MCU. Rumors have it she could be Mystique. Rumors have she could be some other character and that she could be making her debut in Doomsday. And then the other rumor about the X-Men is Sadie Sink from Stranger Things. Now she's done Stranger Things, she can start looking at her career now in the future because she doesn't have to be locked down for any more Stranger Things. So she can start planning her future now. Is said that, and I've seen this in multiple locations, not just the one, like the Anna Darmus one I've seen in only one or two spots that always have these rumors, but this Sadie Sink one has been popping up all over the place. As they believe that the MCU brass, Kevin Feige, stuff like that, want to cast Sadie Sink as Jean Grey Phoenix, which would be, I can see it. Could be pretty decent. She's about the right age. She's got the red hair, all that stuff. So, again, grain of salt there. Rumors. And we'll see if they come to fruition. Now, next up is a Paul Rudd twofer. I mentioned a while back that Jack Black and Paul Rudd have signed on, and I think they're writing a meta sequel to the Anaconda movies about the giant anaconda that is in the Brazil rainforest and the Amazon, and star Jennifer Lopez and Jon Voight and Ice Cube. And they are said to be doing that. Well, they came out today or this week and said, yep, movie's set to come out the same day as The Housemaid, Christmas 2025. So the Jack Black, Paul Rudd Anaconda meta sequel is set to debut on Christmas Day next year, 2025, along with the Sydney Sweeney, Amanda Seyfried Housemaid movie. So that's an intriguing twofer right there. I might check out the Anaconda one because Jack Black and Paul Rudd together in a meta version of Anaconda. You can say Scream is a meta version of horror. So it had comedy and it was meta, but it also was a damn good horror film. So this could very well be the same thing. Could be meta, could be humor, but could also be a damn good monster movie with a giant anaconda chasing Jack Black and Paul Rudd. And to have the two of them playing off each other should be outstanding. Now, the other Paul Rudd thing totally caught me off guard and made me go, holy shit, I want to see this movie. I had no idea it was coming out and is due out in the spring of 2025. And I got the first trailer of A24's new movie, Death of a Unicorn. Now, when you see A24 and you see the name Death of a Unicorn, when I first saw the trailer before I played it, and I didn't know who was in it. I just saw the little thumbnail and it just looked like a generic actress with black hair because it was all kind of out of focus like that. So it said A24 Death of a Unicorn. I almost didn't click on it because it could be a metaphor for something. So it could be one of these A24 big drama sort of things about, a metaphor about death of a unicorn could be the death of innocence. And this young actress, whoever it is, could be the focus of the story. So then I hit play. And the first scene we see is Jenna Ortega, who was the girl in the thumbnail, and Paul Rudd as her dad driving in a car. And then talking, and then all of a sudden it's a boom, 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 boom. Something happens, and a screech thing, and Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega look out of the car, and there's a dead thing in the middle of the road. They go to it. It's a fucking unicorn. So it looks like it's going to be like a Harry and the Henderson sort of thing, where they hit what they believe is a unicorn. It's got the horn. It's got the pinkish sort of hue. They've never seen it before. And they're like, holy fuck, what is this? So they take it and put it in his truck because it's a unicorn. What the fuck are we going to do? Just leave it sit there? And then take it to their family's house. Their family has, oh my God, who is in that cast? It's, this cast is outstanding. When I started seeing Will Poulter, I think is in this one as well. There it is, Death of a Unicorn, the cast. We've got Will Poulter, Taya Leone, Richard E. Grant, Stephen Park, Nick Whitman and Sunita Manny. And I was like, holy fucking shit. So then he goes with his family and they're trying to cover up the fact that they might have killed the only unicorn. And so they're trying to talk about other stuff as well. And someone notices in the car that something is moving in the car. So like, oh fuck, maybe it isn't dead. And then all of a sudden, a beastly creature appears in the trailer. It is a fully black unicorn thing, and it's like the dad, and so it's an evil demonic sort of unicorn who's trying to get his child back. This movie looks absolutely fucking insane, but the trailer is so good, such a great cast, and the title of it, Death of a Unicorn, is literally about the death of a fucking unicorn with Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega and Will Poulter and Taylor Leone and Stephen Park. What the fuck are we doing? I need to see this movie, and the only date they have is spring 2025. So I will be keeping my eyes out for that shit. Holy fuck. Check out the trailer, Death of a Unicorn from A24. You're going to get your mind fucking blown. It is a B-movie comedy, horror, Harry and the Hendersons monster thing with a fantastic fucking cast. It is, I did not know what this was about, and now I really want to see this movie a lot. Death of a Unicorn. Check out the trailer. It's outstanding. Death, Rey Mysterio Sr., the father, I believe, of that big wrestler, passed away this week. Anniversaries. These are the first batch of anniversaries we had this week. Godfather 2, 50 years ago this week. It's not the only 50-year-old celebration. We'll get to that in a little bit. Scream, I just talked about Scream 7, debuted 28 years ago this week. The Graduate debuted 57 years ago this week. Kindergarten Cop debuted 34 years ago this week. Gangs of New York debuted 22 years ago this week. Fucking Death of a Unicorn, baby. And here's another fucking great thing that I want to watch. It's going to be on Netflix February 20th. It's a conspiracy theory TV show. I talked a little bit about it last week, I believe, but we got the first poster for it, and it's called 0 Day. And listen to this cast. This is a TV series on Netflix set to debut February 20th, which I want to see now, because listen to this fucking cast. Robert De Niro, Jesse Plemons, Joan Allen, Lizzie Kaplan, Connie Britton, Matthew Modine, and Angela fucking Bassett are in this fucking TV show about conspiracies. Holy shit, it's going to be a good fucking year for entertainment. And I will be all over it here on my Dylan Knows show and on my list shows. I'll be talking about all this stuff. So we got our first poster for this, and it had the entire cast on it, and it had like a spear with an American flag on it kind of thing. So you really don't know much about it, but we know it's some sort of conspiracy theory thing. I would assume since it's February 20th, we should be seeing a trailer probably within the first couple weeks of January to try to get people interested in it and excited in it. But I mean, this cast alone is enough for me to go, fuck yeah, I want to watch this show. Here's something else that's absolutely insane. Arnold Schwarzenegger is filming a movie right now, a holiday movie right now. He hasn't done a Christmas movie since Jingle All the Way, where he appears to be playing fucking Santa Claus in a movie called The Man with the Bag. Now, from what I read about it, it seems like it's going to be an action film, and it looks like the actor from Jack Reacher is also going to be in it as well. But they've been filming in New York, so Schwarzenegger's been dressed up like Santa. It's got the white beard, it's got the Santa Claus suit on, so don't know if it's actual Santa or if it's somebody who's delusional and thinks it's Santa or something completely different. And if it's an action film, they say the Jack Reacher actor, Alan Richardson, is in it as well. So that would make sense for it to be kind of an action Christmas movie, like a Red One almost. And the Man with the Bag could be anything. And that's another one to be intrigued about because they're filming it now, so it should be ready by next Christmas. And don't know who's doing it, but it's going to be pretty interesting. And there's another trailer that came out for a movie that I'm probably not going to see, but it's sort of an atypical sort of a generic romantic drama sort of thing, but it looks kind of interesting. It's called Wish You Were Here, and it's directed by the actress Julia Stiles from 10 Things I Hate About You and the dance movie, and she was also in the Bourne movies as well. But most people know her from 10 Things I Hate About You. And she directed it, and she appears to have maybe a small cameo role in it, because in the trailer, which was released this week, they showed her briefly, but not sure how big her role is because she is directing it. And it follows a woman who meets a young woman in her 20s, probably, who meets this young man, and they sort of hit it off. And then he asks her to help him. It's not vandalizing, but do paint a mural in secret, sort of a little bit. And as they're walking away from it, the police are sort of around. So they sort of pretend that they're sort of making out, stuff like that. And so the woman believes that, everything that's been going on, they've been having dinner and he's been talking to her sweetly and they've been working together at painting, that he is interested in her, but he ends up rebuffing her, and it makes her upset, obvious reasons. And then Julia Stiles' character comes and says, this dude wants to talk to Adam, I think his name is, and gives him a letter, gives this woman a letter. Turns out that the guy has some sort of disease and is in the hospital and might not make it. So she goes in there, and he was pushing her away because he's afraid that he might not make it. And yet, so she still goes there, and they fall in love proper, and he and her try to spend some time, I guess last time for him to survive or whatever. Also stars Kelsey Grammer and Jennifer Grey, which is kind of interesting to see Jennifer Grey in something that she hasn't done for a while, and then Kelsey Grammer as well in something other than Frasier. So looks interesting. Again, probably not my jam. And it has similar feels to like We Live in Time, which is an outstanding film, but they appear to have enough differences that it's probably going to be interesting enough for everybody. But it's there, and it's an interesting one. I got a new theory that I want to pass through you here. So we got our first photos of not first ones, but new photos of Scarlett Johansson, Jonathan Bailey, Marshala Ali, Rupert Friend, and Bashir Sigan, who are doing the new Jurassic World Rebirth movie set to debut July 2nd, 2025, which is great because I'm going to take that week off from work because my family is going to be up at camp and only have to use 4 days of vacation since 4th of July is on a Friday. And I'll take that whole week off and just watch movies and relax and be like my vacation. And then that means I can go see this movie on Wednesday, the 2nd, which is awesome. Regardless, so we got our first picture of that. So it looks like fairly generic. And I cannot take credit for this, and I wish I knew who. I wish I could remember the poster on Threads who posted this. So they posted a picture of these new pictures that came out, which has Scarlett Johansson like looking through a microscope, and Jonathan Bailey like next to her. He's got his glasses on and a hat and stuff like that. And the poster on Threads, who I'm sorry I don't remember what your name is, and I should give you total credit for this. This isn't my theory, but I think it's a fantastic fucking theory if it's true. So his theory is that Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Bailey are going to be playing, drum roll please, the adult versions of Lex and Tim from the original Jurassic Park movie. And I read that, and I looked at the picture of the two of them and was like, oh, fuck me. That is an outstanding theory. And then someone else posted, didn't have the same theory, but someone else posted more of these pictures. And one has Scarlett like down on one knee investigating something in the dirt. She's got like these khakis on and this hat and this hair. And I swear to God, once that thought in my head that was grown up Lex, I looked at her and I said, holy fucking shit, that's fucking Lex grown up, because Scarlett looked exactly like she would, like the outfit and the way her hair was. And I was like, holy fucking shit, that makes absolutely perfect fucking sense. And maybe that's what it's going to be. They haven't revealed that yet. Obviously, they're not going to want to. They're probably not going to. But if that turns out to be true, holy shit, that is such a great fucking idea. Because you never really know what happens, because if you've read the novel, the character of Lex is absolutely abysmal. She's a terrible, awful, incredibly yucky character. And Tim is the perfect, powerful, all does everything, is the great male, young boy hero sort of thing. It was no offense, Michael Crichton, rest in peace, but it was a goddamn terrible story. The idea in general was a great idea, but when Spielberg and David Koepp, who adapted it, came in there and said, we got to change some stuff up here, turning the guy, John, whatever it is, I forget the guy who created it, and turning him from being a complete and total psycho ass fuck, which he is in the books, into the jolly Sir Richard Attenborough, who has absolutely killed it in the role and is the kind, gentle, happy-go-lucky John character, which I love better than the shitty guy that was in the novel. And Lex was shitty in the novel, and I love the fact that they cut Tim in half basically and gave Lex the computer stuff and Tim the knowledge of dinosaurs, and I think that fits out perfectly. That way Lex isn't just your typical sort of blah, 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 I'm a blonde girl, blah, 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 doing nothing, I'm bringing nothing to the table. She actually helps out in it, and Tim has with his knowledge of dinosaurs, all that stuff helps out. So, and it looks also like Scarlett is slightly older than Jonathan Bailey, so that makes total fucking sense. So I'm like, boom, what a fucking great idea, if that is indeed what it is. So we'll see if that's true. Not my theory, but now every time you see one of those pictures or you watch the trailer, which is going to eventually probably come out, probably during the Super Bowl, have it in the back of your head and just look at that. Particularly, there's this, as if you can find the pictures of Jurassic World Rebirth and you find the one of Scarlett, down on one knee looking in the dirt or whatever, or her on the computer, because she is on the computer in one of them, and Lex is a computer person, and Jonathan Bailey with the hat and his like rugged sort of out, it would make sense. Tim is like the field guy and she's the office person. It fucking is making so much more fucking sense to me that it's such a great theory, and I wish I would have thought about it. So thank you, Mr. Threads or Mrs. Threads, whoever it was. That fantastic on you. Ghostbusters. I thought there was going to be a Ghostbusters animated TV show on Netflix, which was going to follow the Afterlife characters. And there still might be, but Netflix announced this week that there's going to be a Ghostbusters animated movie now as well. Not sure if it's going to continue the storyline that's been in Afterlife and Frozen Empire, but they will be releasing an animated film. Didn't give a date. They just announced it, so I would assume probably not till 2026, because you got to animate it and write the story and do the voices and all that stuff. And depending on how they do it, computer generated stuff could take time, blah, blah, blah. But that is something to think about. David Zoyas has joined the cast of The Running Man as well. Talked about The Running Man earlier, but that's something else as well. Red One, which didn't do all that much in movie theaters, did okay, but it obviously didn't even come close to the like $150 million or $250 million budget that it had. Did okay in the movie theaters, but not great. And it was an Amazon Prime MGM UA movie. And so it was going to logically hit Prime, because originally it was set to just debut on Prime. And then they decided, after seeing some films that were created by a Netflix or an Apple or whatever actually make some money, they said, why don't we try it? It's got The Rock, it's got Chris Evans, it's Christmas. Why don't we see what happens? Didn't do great in movie theaters, didn't do bad, but didn't do as they wanted it to do. So they're like, okay, maybe we can recoup our losses when we put it on streaming. So they put it on streaming, and the first weekend it was on Amazon Prime, 50 million global audience watched it, making it the most watched Amazon MGM movie ever. on Prime. Think about that. 50 million views worldwide. And just think if those 50 million people saw it in the movie theater, and let's just say, like, for shits and giggles, $20, $15, whatever, $10 alone would be close to, I don't know, $500,000, 50 million. I don't know. It would be a good amount of money, but it also goes to show you that a lot of people are willing to continue just waiting for it to come on streaming. We've had this discussion over and over again. Movie theaters are doing okay. They've had a couple of big hits over the last couple of years, so it's sort of coming back. And what's also making big business is the re-releases, which we're going to talk about one in particular coming up here soon. And so it's kind of back, but if you look at the streaming numbers of movies after they are in movie theaters, you're going to see something really interesting, is that more people streamed it than went to the movie theaters. So again, with COVID, it sort of set up this new way of doing things with movies, and actually is a lot, and made people realize, why should I go to the movies where I have to get in my car, drive to a movie theater, find a place to park, go buy overpriced popcorn and snacks, go sit in a potentially maybe cramped theater. I mean, some of them have upgraded, but in a theater, people talking during the movie, looking at their phones, being annoying, having to go to the bathroom. You have to get up in the middle of the movie to go to the bathroom and come back. You miss about 5 minutes, 10 minutes of the movie, depending on how long it takes you to go to the bathroom. And then when you leave, just the wait to get out, and the traffic and all that stuff, it's not worth it for a lot of people because of the overpriced snacks, because of the loud people, and to missing the movie if you have to go to the bathroom or whatever. In some cases, not being able to hear because there's no closed captioning, because not all movie theaters have closed captioning on their movies. So people are now saying, why should I do all that when I can wait for it to come out on streaming and I can watch it at my leisure? I don't have to go at 2:00 or 4:45 or 7:15 or 10:11, whenever the time is, and make sure I get there in time. I don't have to watch all the stupid trailers and commercials ahead of time. I just get it on Prime or I get it on Netflix, and I just start it. And I can put closed captioning on it. I've got my home theater, so I can turn up the sound if I want to. It will look good. It'll look like it's over the movie theater. So I got the big giant screen or whatever. And then I got my snacks that I can get up and go get my snacks that I bought with my own money that are much cheaper. I can buy a bag of Skittles at the grocery store for like $5 when it costs like $15 at the movie theater. I don't have to park. I don't have to get dressed. I can just lay down, curl up in a blanket, turn closed captioning on, have my drink, have something to eat, watch with my family, and we can discuss it if we want to while we're watching. And we'll have the closed captioning on. And then if I have to go to the bathroom or someone has to go to the bathroom, you pause it, stop it so you don't miss anything. They do their business, come back, unpause it, boom, watch the rest of the movie. So streaming is here to stay, and it is a good way to see movies. And a lot of movies are not going through the movie theaters and are just going to the streaming services. And Red One was going to be one of those that was going to do that. But they said, why not? Let's give it a go. It did okay, but it did do great. But once you got it on streaming, it did phenomenal. The opposite was with the Glass Onion that was on Netflix. They released it for 1 week in a small amount of theaters, not even anywhere near me. And it made bank for the number of theaters that it was there. It made like $1,000, made more than that, like maybe $5,000 in like 100 theaters, something like that, which is good money. And then it was released on Netflix to huge ratings and huge numbers. So the creators, Rian Johnson's like, you know what? We could have made a shit ton of money at the movie theaters, because it looked like if we would have released it to more theaters, more people probably would have gone to see it instead of waiting for it to be on TV. And that's possible that it wasn't. But the fact that it made as much as it did in such a small amount of theaters, it makes a lot of sense. So now when Wake Up Dead Man comes out probably next year, that's probably going to be a next year thing also. They're going to release it in theaters for about a week or two. they're trying to, the movie theaters are trying to get it onto Netflix. No, I'm not Netflix, trying to get it on IMAX, but Netflix is kind of sticking to their guns about that. So we'll see if that actually is going to work. And I truly believe that's going to be coming out next fall sometimes, because they finished filming that a while back. So we'll see what happens. But Red One made 50 million had 50 million viewers over the weekend globally, and that's a phenomenal number. Party City and Big Lots both shut down or out of business. All the shops closed immediately. Everybody was fired. No severance packages. It's awful for the employees and stuff like that. So now any Party City near you or Big Lots near you is now shuttered. It is done. Party City was huge for their Halloween costumes, but I guess the Spirit Halloween has sort of taken a lot of that away from them, I suppose. And Big Lots just hasn't been able to succeed. So both of those have been shut down. And the way they were done by the CEOs is absolutely abysmal. It was a terrible thing to do. And is a sign of what's to come probably in this godforsaken country full of idiots who voted for a moron and his South African racist Nazi shitbag. Secret Level was renewed for a second season. That's the anthology animated series set in the world of video games. The first season came out and it's been doing really well on Prime. It's been renewed for a second season. Anna Camp has joined Scream 7. Also, as I said, I'm going to have a bunch of Scream 7 casting spread over the remaining pages here. U's final season is set to hit Netflix in 2025, which is going to add to the insane amount of hugely popular streaming shows coming on. It will be the last season of You as well. So we'll see what happens with that. Peaky Blinders film has finished filming. So congratulations to them. The Electric State is another movie that's looking more and more exciting to me. It's the Russo brothers' new movie that stars Chris Pratt and Millie Bobby Brown. And then it had, I always forget his name. Why do I forget his name? Give me a second here and I will, the Electric State. It's based on a novel. It's got Millie Bobby Brown, Chris Pratt, Ke Huy Quan is in it. I forgot about that. Stanley Tucci, Anthony Mackie, Jenny Slate, Giancarlo Esposito, Woody Harrelson, Michelle Yeoh, Jason Alexander, Rob Gronkowski is actually in it. Alan Tudyk, Hank Azaria, Coleman Domingo, Brian Cox. Now, to be fair, a lot of those will be voice roles because the movie itself is a very intriguing idea. A robot war broke out between humans and robots, and turned out that it was not a proper war, and the robots were pushed back to an area called the Electric State, but turned out the war was not done properly by the humans, that it was something more, and that the robots are not as evil as they were. So we sort of see the aftermath of that. So lots of robots. So a lot of those names I said are probably going to be voices of it. But, you know, I know Stanley Tucci is actually, they showed him in the trailer, the new trailer, and we know Chris Pratt, and we know Millie Bobby Brown are all going to be in it, and Ke Huy Quan as well. So it looks really, really good. The first trailer was decent. This one is even better. Set debut March 14th. I guarantee you I'll be watching that one as well on Netflix. And again, they're not releasing this in theaters, so they were trying to do a glass onion sort of thing where they think that they had to release that in theater for about a week to get into the Oscar talk. but they're not going to release this one into theaters, I don't think. And so it's not going to get any Oscars. And it's okay. It's not supposed to. It's like an action summer film set debut in March instead. But looks really, really good and looks really excited about it. So we'll see what happens. We got our first look at Fountain of Youth, which is Guy Ritchie's new film. This one sounds interesting as well. Another one that I might be interested in checking out. This one stars John Krasinski, Natalie Portman, and Eliza Gonzalez. It's basically described as a contemporary version of Indiana Jones, where a group of siblings are searching for the Fountain of Youth. And the shot they have of John Krasinski is him looking almost kind of like a Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones type. So we'll see if that actually comes to fruition. But it looks good and probably coming out next year, so we'll keep an eye on that as well. I think I mentioned this last week, but I'm not exactly sure, so I'm just going to re-mention it again. Universal is developing a TV show called Local Heroes, and the premise is about a group of comic book store regulars who solve crimes. Kevin Smith is an executive producer and writer on the series. And the other writers on the series are 30 Rock alum Josh Siegel and Dylan Morgan. And Sean Hayes' production company is the one doing it. And they said that it's based on Kevin Smith's comic book store, Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, and the people who go there. So that could be interesting. Should be interesting to look at that. A wild brawl broke out at O'Hare Airport involving wet floor signs. The video just shows people hitting each other with wet floor signs, and it was kind of a crazy sort of thing. Local news, Santa Claus is coming to town. Every year, Santa Claus drives on the fire trucks through our neighborhood. Santa popped up on Thursday in my neighborhood, got a couple of good pictures of him, posted them on my social media, and it was always good to hear them. He should be finishing up his rounds tomorrow. It's actually today, since it's after midnight. It is now officially the 22nd of December. In football news, the Broncos and Chargers also played on Thursday night, and a super rare football play occurred that had not been seen since 1972. It is an obscure play where if you make a fair catch on a kickoff, you have the right, if you want to try to kick a field goal unobstructed without people trying to advance on you to try to block it or whatever. Now, it's not usually utilized a lot because most of the times when you're punting, you end up on the other side of the field closer to your side of the field. And if you try to kick a field goal from there, it would be close to like an 80-yard field goal, which would never happen. No, even more than that. Maybe it's 100 yards. So yeah, probably about an 80-yard field goal, which is not good. Also, that's why you don't see it all that often. But in this case, it was just about to be the end of the half. And the Chargers decided they were going to give it a try because it was a short field and it would have been a 51-yard field goal. And the Chargers nailed it right before halftime. Chargers ended up winning the game. They were behind most of the time, but they came back, and that might have been the start of it right there. But it's a super rare, as I said, last time it actually happened was back in 1972, and it's not a very good, useful one unless you're going to the end of a at the end of the half or whatever, where you're going to go around the end of halftime when this was because if you tried it in game and you missed it, it would be you wouldn't get another chance. That would be your one shot after getting the ball back, and you tried that one kick and you missed it. The ball goes back to the other team. So you just did one play, it didn't work, and now they have the ball again. They can score again and take that game out of control. So we still need to see it, but I wouldn't recommend it all that often. Before I talk a little bit about a movie I saw, I'm going to do anniversaries and deaths. I'm going to talk about the movie for a little bit. Deaths: Frank Kendrick, an NBA player, died at the age of 72. Mary Kimball Purdom, an All-American Girl League player, died at the age of 95. She played for the Racine Bells. Jim Donaldson, a longtime Rhode Island sports writer, died at the age of 73. Anniversaries, Rocky Balboa, debuted 18 years ago this week. The fantastic Buffy Christmas episode of Men's, which was number 2 on my Christmas list show that I did yesterday of the top Christmas TV episodes. I will post that on my social media soon. But the anniversary of that episode's debut was 26 years ago. Holy fuck, I'm old. Percy Jackson season 1 debuted 1 year ago this week. Avatar 2 debuted 2 years ago this week. Spider-Man No Way Home debuted 3 years ago this week. A Fellowship of the Rings debuted 23 years ago this week, and Titanic debuted 27 years ago this week. Now, this week I wanted to go to the movies, and I already saw Interstellar. I talked about that last week in IMAX. And there was another film that I had seen the trailer for a while back, but then saw nothing about it. And then I started seeing stuff for it again. And so I started looking it up, and it was finally being released in theaters around here. Again, not too many of them, stuff like that. And then it got nominated for a Golden Globe Award for Best Animated Feature. And it's probably a shoo-in to get nominated for Best Picture, Animated Picture as well for the Oscars. The movie is Flow. And I saw it. I watched it, went to the movie theater. I was the only person in the theater. And I watched it. It was the smallest theater they had, the movie theater, but I did see it. I've been wanting to see it. It was about a $1.28, an hour and 28 minutes. There is no dialogue in the movie. The animation style is interesting. It's a little mixture of a little bit of everything. It's almost dreamlike, Hayao Miyazaki sort of combination of things. And the premise has a black cat. I Pepper, my black kitty. I love him so much. And so I wanted to see this movie where the black cat is the lead, is surviving on, I don't know if I want to say it's Earth, because it doesn't look like any Earth I've ever seen before. It's got grass and rivers and rocks, and it's got dogs and cats and birds and stuff like that are on Earth. But there's also strange structures and houses and giant statues of cats and stuff like that. So it's almost like an open world video game. And there is a natural disaster occurring. The water is continually rising. There are tsunamis that are rolling through all the time. So the water is enveloping the earth, and the cat needs to find a way to survive. So before the tsunami hits, he's trying to find something to eat, and he runs afoul of a pack of dogs, one of which is a yellow shepherd dog who becomes interested in the cat. And his other buddies run off, and the yellow dog goes with them, but he was intrigued with the cat. And then they go about their way, and then the tsunami comes, and the cat has to find higher shelter. And the dogs float away on a little canoe boat. And so the cat sees almost like a regular seafaring ship, almost like a pirate ship, and is able to make its way onto the pirate ship, and on board is a capybara. So two of them sort of strike up a friendship, and the water drifts the boat, and as they're moving along, they discover other animals and help them. A lemur who collects a bunch of his stuff to bring on board the ship, a giant bird, I forget the type of species it is, who was rejected by his family when he tried to protect the cat from the rest of the big birds. And then they run afoul of the pack of the yellow dog shepherd, and he comes on for a little while. And then eventually they run afoul of the other dogs, who all come on and screw up their happy sort of well-being. And there's a whale that's a bizarre looking whale that's following them around also in the tsunami era. And they're in this boat, and there's rain and food shortages, and they got to figure out how to do. But it's such a glorious film, no dialogue, but you can sort of tell what's going on by how the animals are reacting to each other. It is a stunningly gorgeous film, and the ending is a little whacked, and I'm still trying to process it. But it's still a very well done film. It's really hard to quantify and kind of explain it, but it's worth a look, worth to look at. And could it win Best Animated Feature? It could. I don't know who it's going to be up against. I know Inside Out 2 is up in there to get some animated stuff, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to beat a movie like Flow. Flow is a very artistic film. As I said, no dialogue, and all the characters are animals. The movement of the animals is very true to how the animals move and react. And each animal exhibits a characteristic, a character, and they're able to show their character by their actions and by the stuff that they're doing. So a really good film. Highly recommended. Don't know if you'll be able to find it because there's one showing in the Towson Theater, and there was one showing at the Owings Mills one, and that could be done by now with the arrival of Sonic 3. I don't even think it's in the movie theaters. I don't think it's in Owings Mills anymore. So let me see here. Let's see if it actually still is. I mean, not that I'm going to see it again, but I would not mind. And I think it's set to debut on Amazon very quickly as well. So you can watch it on Amazon if you can't find it at a movie theater. Mufasa, Sonic, Homestead, Kraven the Hunter, Lord of the Rings, War of the Harem, Moana 2, Wicked, Gladiator 2, Van Voss, Bakhala Mali. Yep, so Flow is gone. So I was glad I got to see it when I did. I'm assuming it's going to make its way to Amazon very quickly, so I highly recommend you check it out. Sit back, relax. It's an hour and 28 minutes out of your day. It is a gorgeously filmed film. If you like animals, it's a really neat to see what happens. As I said, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the ending. I'm trying to figure out what actually happened because it's a little bit of on the bizarre side, and also it's hard to quantify where this takes place because it has a lot of Earth qualities and a lot of animals that are on Earth, but the whale looks a lot different than I've seen any whales look like before. And the different towers and buildings and stuff like that just doesn't look like normal stuff that's on this planet. So hard to say what's going on and when it takes place because, as I said, there's no dialogue, but it's well worth it and you should check it out. Flow, probably not in any movie theaters. Give it a try, but check it out periodically on Amazon. It'll probably be popping up on there really soon. We Live in Time is on Amazon right now. That's another one I highly recommend. Check that as well. If you had a chance, check out Flow. I liked it a lot. I think my family will like it. And I hope to see it again sometime. But I have to admit, though, the ending is still a little flummoxing for me. Sony is considering selling Spider-Man back to Marvel after the abysmal Kraven the Hunter numbers, which is a shame because from the trailers, Aaron Taylor Johnson looks phenomenal as Kraven the Hunter. And unfortunately, it looks like with all the trailers of all the Sony movies, it looked like things were going to be okay. But when you actually sat down and watched the movies, everyone says it was kind of garbage. I haven't had a chance to look at them yet. I'd like to check out Madam Web for the story. Sydney Sweeney, Dakota Johnson, and all those other hot chicks on there. I wouldn't mind checking Morbin Time, see what that's about. And Kraven the Hunter looks actually pretty decent to me with Russell Crowe and Aaron Taylor Johnson. But everybody says it's crap. You can't trust what everybody says, but still. But it's losing money for Sony, and they're like, it's not really worth it. They've already canceled all their other movies, so they're not going to make any more villain movies. The Venom movies did pretty decent for them, but other than that, it hasn't really been very successful. So they are going to stop doing that. That's why they're thinking about, why don't we cash out now, make some, requests like $1 billion or $800 million or whatever for the rights to Spider-Man, and then we'll rebuild our theatrical division with this money and try to get back on top again. And you could have been successful if you didn't sort of rush these movies out. You actually sat down, thought about the scripts, hired some decent script writers, some decent directors. And I think the casting for the most part was pretty good. I think the big issue with Madam Web is they did not get into their costumes till like the very end of the movie. You should have had them going consistently on. You should not have made a deal you should have made a deal to get the money from Spider-Man, but you should have created your own Spider-Man because we know it takes place in a different kind of dimension. So you created you should have brought Andrew Garfield back as Spider-Man, or at least create a brand new Spider-Man who you could interact with these villains to make it more interesting. I still think Aaron Taylor Johnson would be a really good Kraven the Hunter in the MCU. And they showed the chameleon at the end, and they nailed the look of the chameleon. So it'd be nice to see they can get him into the MCU as well. As I said, the Madam Web characters look luscious and pretty comic accurate, but they do not appear till the end of the movie. And then Morbius looked good on the trailer, but everybody was making fun of it, so I don't know. And then Venom was the only one that did really well. So Sony's sort of given up on their Spider-Man dreams, and that's just a sign that they didn't have a very good production squad behind it. Oh. Excuse me. Skibbidy Toilet, Mariah Carey, Batman Ninja, Ninja Harley Quinn are all brand new Fortnite skins coming into Fortnite here over the next couple days. Winterfest has started. We have Christmas themed competitions and stuff like that, and Christmas themed skins coming out. And Skibbidy Toilet and Mariah Carey and all that stuff are all big ones that are out now for them. You can get. Sprigatito is going to be January's Pokemon Go Community Day, set for January 5th. I like Sprigatito, but he should be more of a spring character. They should have done some sort of ice or snow character for January. You should really set the theme if you're going to do Community Day and you have it set during a specific time frame. Now, I know it's hard because you want the whole world to look at it, and it's summer in the southern hemisphere, but it's winter in the northern hemisphere, and you've got to find an even divide, but that's just me, though. A Bluey movie is coming out in 2027. It was announced, and TikTokers or something that have already come on and talked about it. And one guy believes that it will be one of the highest grossing pictures of all time because of the hugely popularity of the character of Bluey. So we will see if that ends up being true. Violent Night 2, the sequel to David Harbour's action hero Santa Claus. The script is officially done. David Harbour posted a picture of him holding the script for Violent Night 2. So I would assume that's probably going to be his next project, unless they want to wait till it's winter again. Or it is winter now, so they can conceivably start filming it now for release later in 2025, particularly around Christmas would probably be the best time. Obviously. Marvel confirmed that Black Panther 3 is coming after Denzel Washington accidentally slipped up and said that Ryan Coogler wrote a part for him in Black Panther 3. So we know that's going to be coming, just don't know when, but it is set to be up there soon. I'm not the biggest Tim Allen fan, and I can pretty much predict where this show is going to go. But this is a hell of a cast for a TV show. Tim Allen's new TV show, Shifting Gears, has cast Tim Allen, Kat Dennings, Sean William Scott, and now Jenna Elfman. It's an amazing cast. It's set to debut January 8th, and it takes place at a garage where people work on cars and stuff like that. So it could be interesting. The Ritual, Al Pacino, and Dan Stevens' Exorcist film delivers its first poster. Whatever. The Karate Kid Legends, we get our first look at that movie coming out in May with Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan. And it looks like a kind of a newer version of Karate Kid that takes place overseas. But it's always fun to see Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio fighting people with their karate. I talked about this last week. I went to see Interstellar in IMAX last week, and I talked about it last week. But it grossed $21 million worldwide over the 2 weeks it's been out, which is the highest grossing IMAX re-release of all time. So congratulations to Christopher Nolan, who also, he and his wife got knighted this weekend by the King of England. So he is now officially Sir Christopher Nolan, and his wife is Lady Caroline. I don't think it's Nolan, but whatever her maiden name is that she uses. So good on them. The Jeff Bridges, John Lithgow show, The Old Man, has been canceled after 2 seasons. New teaser for the Lilo and Stitch live action film set to debut May 23rd. Didn't do much except show Stitch playing on the beach a little bit and get picked up by a human. That's about it. The Conjuring Last Rites has finished filming. It is the last film in the Conjuring series, so there are going to be no more after that. KFC is set to launch a new restaurant called Saucy. It looks like it's going to be up against Raising Cane's, or just Cane's, I guess. It has 11 new sauces, new drinks, new food, supposedly going to have music. The first of the Saucy restaurants is set to debut in Orlando, Florida on Monday. The sauces they gave sound pretty interesting, and there's one sandwich that sounds pretty good, but it's just basically same old KFC, but with more sauces and different types of sides and drinks. An atmosphere that KFC is. So, you go. Mason Gooding has also joined the cast of Scream 7, but he is one of the newer cast members of the newest series of Scream movies and one of the only ones that is coming back for the sequel. So his character from the previous Scream movies will be making an appearance in the new Scream 7 movie. Spy Kids has been picked as a National Film Registry film, along with a bunch of other ones. Spy Kids is a fantastic family film with a wonderfully fun and outrageous performance by Antonio Banderas. And it's a great film to watch. It's a good family film. Robert Rodriguez did a killer job on it. He deserves all of it. Yellowstone has ended its run after 6 years, so good on you for that. Man on the Inside, the Ted Danson show on Netflix, which was done by the creators of The Good Place and Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Parks and Rec, is signed on for a second season. So congratulations to them. We still haven't checked that out yet, and it's one that we need to check out soon. Macaulay Culkin, who is in one of the best Christmas movies of all time, Home Alone, almost bought the Home Alone house, the house that the exteriors were shot for the Home Alone 1 and 2 movies, but the interiors were not. It was up for sale. Macaulay Culkin almost bought that. That would have been fucking hilarious if he did that. But he decided in the end not to, and at the same time, that kind of makes sense as well. Japanese crime syndicate regularly launders money by using Pokemon cards. I think I mentioned this story before, but it just popped up on my feed again, so I figured I'd bring it up again. That's kind of an interesting sort of thing. And speaking of Japanese, the Baltimore Orioles, my baseball team, has picked up a Japanese pitching stud named Tomoyoki Sugaro, who has won the Japanese Cy Young for the Japanese Baseball League twice and had a 1.29 ERA over the last 2 years. And that's for the whole season, which is goddamn good. And he made his most recent appearance when they had the World Baseball Challenge last year. He played for Team Japan, and he absolutely smoked the best players on the American baseball team, who are the USA baseball team. Players who are still playing to this day and are considered heavy hitters were absolutely smoked by this guy. So that's a good sign for the Orioles that we've solidified a segment of our rotation. He signed a 1-year deal, and it's also good to say, hey, we treated him good. So if any more Japanese players want to come to the majors, you don't have to go to Los Angeles or New York or Boston or San Francisco or San Diego or any of these places. Come to Baltimore. We can treat you well as well. So good on that. Anniversaries. I talked about Godfather Part 2 being 50 years old. Guess what else is 50 years old this week? Young Frankenstein. Mel Brooks said that this is his best film, but he said Blazing Saddles is his funniest film. Both of those came out this year and both celebrated their 50th anniversary. I don't know if I agree with him. Young Frankenstein's a decent movie, but it is not one of my favorites. It's okay. And for what it was supposed to do, it killed it and did a great job of it. But to me, Blazing Saddles and Spaceballs are still some of his best work, as well as Men in Tights is too. The Dark Crystal, one of my wife's favorite movies, debuted 42 years ago this week. The Simpsons premiered 35 years ago this week with their first ever full-length episode, Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire, their Christmas episode where Homer works as a department store Santa, doesn't get paid as much as he thought he did and not enough to buy his kids and family Christmas presents. So instead of shopping with what's left on Christmas Eve, Barney talks him into going to the dog track. He puts all his money on a huge long shot who ends up losing, but the owner of the long shot kicks the dog out. The dog comes to Homer, and that's how they got Santa's Little Helper. Return of the King, the third part of the Lord of the Rings saga, debuted 21 years ago this week. Godzilla versus King Ghidorah debuted 33 years ago this week. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the original cartoon from Chuck Jones, debuted 58 years ago this week. The Force Awakens, which is actually a decent movie and made $1 billion, debuted 9 years ago this week. Avatar, the original Avatar, debuted 15 years ago this week. Little Shop of Horrors debuted 38 years ago this week. In deaths, we have Jerry Perry, an NFL player, dead at the age of 92. And I forgot about and I'll do that last. And then Diane Delano, who played Officer Szymanski on Northern Exposure for multiple episodes, died at the age of 67 this week. I forgot about two anniversaries that are historical and not pop culture. One, the Wright brothers flew for the first time in recorded history 121 years ago this week. And Tchaikovsky's The Nutcracker premiered 132 years ago this week as well. Dude, I'm getting ready to finish up here, and you're going to go up there. Whatever. So that's all my stuff on this page. So now on the last page of stuff. Let's see. Where is my last story? What would be good? Trying to find a good last story. Not a lot here. That'll be the last one. Gotcha. All right, that's my last story. Sam Reckner joins the cast of Scream 7. As I told you, it's been scattered all over the place. So Scream 7 has been getting all kinds of characters in there. That's the last casting news for Scream 7. Amy Heckerling is thinking about redoing Look Who's Talking for today's generations. She directed the original one, so it would make sense for her to come back for this one. The first trailer for 1923 Season 2, Sheridan's Western prequel to Yellowstone, starring Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren, set to debut February 23rd. Gets the first trailer for this week. Michael Vick is set to be Norfolk State's new football head coach. So it's good to see these former players who were really good in the NFL spreading their wings and doing college and high school. Teddy Bridgewater winning his championship with his high school team. So good on that. Rashida Jones has been cast in an episode of Black Mirror Season 7. We get the White Lotus Season 3 trailer. As I said, 2025 is going to be a huge year for streaming with tons of hugely popular streaming shows coming back, and White Lotus is one of those. That's a debut next year. So you get the Season 3 trailer set up there. Silo has been renewed for seasons 3 and 4, and a lot of people believe that that is going to be the last season, season 4. The Warfare trailer is Alex Garland's newest film that he wrote and directed. He wrote and directed Civil War. This is a new movie. His stuff doesn't really interest me, so I didn't really read much about it. Jamie Lee Curtis is set to star in a movie version of the Angela Lansbury TV show Murder, She Wrote. I think that's brilliant casting. I think that's great casting, so good on that. WWE Becky Lynch is set to join the cast of Starfleet Academy. Don't think it's on a regular role. I think she's going to be playing a character in an episode or two, or maybe a recurring character. Don't know. One Piece Season 2 has finished production, so it's been rumored that it might come out by the end of 2025. That hasn't been said yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if we see One Piece Season 2 in December of 2025 to conclude the crazy year of streaming, which I will be doing. It's my own separate story talking about all the different stuff that's going to be streaming in 2025. Adam Sandler and his director are working feverishly to make sure that Happy Gilmore 2 is ready for a July 2025 debut on, I believe it's Netflix, and it could potentially make its way, or Prime, one of those two. It could potentially make its way to movie theaters before then, but they're trying hard to finish the film. It finished production, and now they're just doing the post-production to see if they can get that done in time. I think I talked about this last week, but I brought it up again. Sarah Michelle Gellar is down for a Buffy reboot, and she's even said that she might even be willing to come back in the role of Buffy. Maybe not necessarily as a lead role, but at least in some form or another. Another rumor from the Marvel Universe, Strange Academy, which is a comic book series that was basically taking taking Marvel's version of Harry Potter. And since they can't do a Harry Potter comic, they had to do something similar. So they got a bunch of young magic characters to go to Strange Academy to learn how to do their magic with Doctor Strange or Dormammu and all that there to teach them and stuff like that. A Strange Academy TV series may be potentially in the works at Disney Plus. It would be appropriate. The success of Skeleton Crew seems to justify that a series with a bunch of young actors in it could be successful as long as the stories and directing is good. And and if it's to get Doctor Strange, you could try to get Benedict Cumberbatch to come on and be in the show, which would be really cool. So we'll see if that actually happens. Before we do the last show, that's the last story. That's all the stories I have. Got a ton of announcements or anniversaries and a couple deaths. We'll do the deaths first. Zakir Hussain and in India, renowned musician, I think, died at the age of 73. Yeah, he was a musician. And Dick Van Arsdale, an NBA player and a beloved Phoenix Suns player, died at the age of 81 this week. Anniversaries, get ready to lock down. There's a ton of them. Rogue One debuted 8 years ago this week. A Chipmunk Christmas debuted 43 years ago this week. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels debuted 36 years ago this week. Were No Angels debuted 35 years ago this week. Wayne's World debuted 31 years ago this week. Jewel of the Nile debuted 39 years ago this week. Superman the movie debuted 46 years ago this week, which is probably why James Gunn decided to reveal the Superman trailer at that time. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol debuted 13 years ago this week. Big Fish, one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Tim Burton movie, debuted 21 years ago this week. Heat debuted 29 years ago this week, as did Jumanji, the original one with Robin Williams and Kirsten Dunst. And Pursuit of Happiness debuted with Will Smith and his son Jaden 18 years ago this week. So we're down to the final story of this Christmas weekend. A Pokemon Go map saves Norwegian hikers who got lost in the woods. So let me see if I can open my Pokemon Go so you can kind of see where this is coming from. You're driving me crazy, cat. What are you doing? So this is kind of what the map looks like. And if you move it around a little bit, you see my neighborhood. This is my neighborhood. We're standing in my house right now. So all this stuff up here are the other houses in my neighborhood. If you look out further up here where the gyms are, that's Main Street in Reisterstown. This is the wooded area behind my house. This is 795, the big highway that runs behind my house. And this is a golf course that's on the other side of 795. So you get it. It's a map of the area. So it's pretty accurate because I know what those places are and where they are and what all that stuff is. So it makes sense that if they had Pokemon Go on their phone and they opened it up, were able to open it up, and they're able to, oh, Jesus Christ, and were able to find a location, they could probably find a way out because you'll see the trails and you see all that stuff. So that kind of makes sense. It's kind of cool. So I just had to finish this one up, and then I just figured since I played it, there's a bunch of Pokemon here. I figured I may as well do it. So I'll take care of that later. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. So the fact that they were able to escape being lost due to being able to find their way out using the map, as I showed you, that was my neighborhood. And if you know how to read it, it'll show you the ways out. They had, as I said, had roads, sidewalks. You just follow them around. You could find yourself, and you just keep looking at it. You would eventually find your way out of there. So good on that for using that. So that is it for this final episode of Dylan Knows Before Christmas. It is the 22nd of December, so 2 days to Christmas Eve, 3 days to Christmas. So the next time I see you will be next weekend, hopefully on Saturday, but could potentially be on Sunday due to Christmas celebrations. I want to wish you and your family very happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Solstice, just happy holidays in general to everyone out there. Enjoy this time of the year. If you don't celebrate, that's fine. But if you do celebrate, enjoy your mass, your Christmas dinner, your football games, your presents, your decorations, your Christmas tree, your Christmas cookies, candles, just Christmas in general. Enjoy yourself. Take care of yourself. Be good to each other. This could be our last affordable Christmas for a while. Could be our last free Christmas for a while. So live it up. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the holiday season. Get excited. Christmas is coming sooner than you think. And enjoy yourselves. Next week will be the last episode of Dylan Knows for 2024. I'm probably not going to do a New Year's Eve one. I've done them before. I'm probably not going to do that this year. So my next episode after next week's ones will be the first weekend in January of 2025. So one more episode of Dylan Knows in 2024. It looks like I'm going to try to do a couple more Christmas lists. So you'll see me again the next day or two doing some of these Christmas lists. But as for Dylan Knows, this is the final episode before Christmas. So again, happy holidays. Let your Yuletide be gay, as they say. Listen to the music, enjoy family, peace and harmony and love, and happy holidays. See you after Christmas.